Well, that was fun, wasn't it?
Did you ever tell her?
All the backstories here Jerry, are unbelievable. So I don't have a lot of time to tell you these stories, but so first of all, there's lots of witnesses. I don't expect you to believe me. This was completely unrehearsed. We bought $35 Starbucks cards. We hit the streets of Spokane with 3 recruiters, 3 gals on the street trying to like rope people in to sign a waiver and come to talk to this guy, not in this suit, I was in the suit, totally separate time, about whatever I wanted to talk to them about. And we had a couple of camera guys and then just me, 30 people. Now there's some people that didn't have any idea what we were talking about and they were really boring, and to keep the film from being like 45 minutes, we cut them out. The last gal you saw, Allison, or not Beth, the little girl, but the last long interview, she was actually the last number 30 person that we interviewed. And, you know, Art and I talked about, gosh, you know, because if I had this video, I had it all bleeped out, you know, because that's my company. Life Shots is my company. Yeah, I'm the guy running the pyramid scheme. Now, what's even funnier about that is we're in Spokane, Washington, and we don't have not one distributor in Spokane, Washington, not one. We only have probably 10 distributors within 100 miles of this lady. And she's not a distributor. She's the vice president of marketing of our company's best friend. And she ended up being number 30. And you know, there's even more backstory than that to this video, but we had a lot of fun and we're going to do some more of these. But I really want you to understand how random it was, because it's only 30 people. Out of those 30 people, by the way, only one person currently involved in network marketing, and only 2 people, including the one, had ever been involved. 28 out of 30 people, brand new prospects, never heard of network marketing. What does that tell you? Well, it tells you a couple things, like what Randy was talking about. You know, we do spend a lot of time. If you don't believe us, just go on Facebook and look at what we post on Facebook. Oh, I just had 97,000 people at my weekly meeting last night. We're killing it over here at XYZ Company. Really? Why'd you put that on Facebook? Who do you think's reading it? All your competitors. Just notice what we do on Facebook. We still, as a community, spend way too much of our efforts trying to impress each other about what's going on in our company, trying to recruit the 10 million of us that are already in, when 28 out of 30 people are not in. Now guess why they're not in? What do they think about us? We've been doing this for 60 years. I've been doing it for 37 years full time. 37 years full time. As a profession, we've been doing this for 60 years. And look at what people think of us after 60 years. They think we're a pyramid scheme. They think what we do doesn't work. They don't want to do what we do. And I say the biggest reason for that is we just spend too much time overpromising and under-delivering and trying to impress people and manipulating them and asking them a bunch of agenda questions, or dumping on them about how much money they can make, or how much money our upline's making, or, you know, how many people came to our convention, or how our product cures this or cures that. And people are sick of it. And if you don't believe it, go do your own survey. Get a camera, dress up in your own suit, and go ask people what they think about what we do. And you know, it was eye-opening for me how many people had no idea what multi-level marketing is, and they think network marketing is something totally different than what we think it is. So, you know, one of the things that's enlightening about that is when we're talking to people, they really want to know, deep down inside, I know this after 37 years, people deep down inside, they want to know really what it is we do. And they don't want to hear any funny business about that. They don't want to hear that in the elevator we're an emergency retirement specialist. Really? Wow, that's so fascinating. Tell me more about that. They don't want to hear any of that stuff. You know what they want to hear? They want to hear the truth. That's what people want to hear. Isn't that what you would want to hear? Like if you were being approached with what we do, what would you want to hear? Like, what would have you trust the person you're talking to? The truth? So there's a lesson in there that maybe we could be straighter with people, and maybe we could tone down or even eliminate the hype, and maybe 60 years from now when we go interview people, which this is what we're a stand for here at Mastermind, and it won't take 60 years for this to happen, because what we've done as a community in the last 5 or 10 years far outpaces what was done in the first 50 years to educate people about the grandness of this opportunity. An opportunity that anybody can start in part-time, not sometimes, but part-time. That they can start without having any skills or education, that they can start with $500 or $1,000, and if they work a little bit, they can actually get that back in 60 or 90 days. An opportunity where people who are actually doing it, actually doing what they're teaching other people to do, they're succeeding at it, all they want to do is mentor us to do the same thing. And an opportunity where if you actually just do the do, which is really simple. How many of you have some kind of a DVD, video, some kind of a presentation you could email or hand to people? Okay, if you don't have one, get one. Our business is as simple as this. Give that to a couple of people a day, 5 or 6 days a week, for a couple of years. That's all you have to do. And your business will blow up. We guarantee it. It will blow up. Just to ask the people who have done it. That's what our business boils down to. So where else can somebody start on a part-time basis for $500 or $1,000 and be mentored by millionaires and multimillionaires, and in 2 or 3 or 4 years become a millionaire themselves? Where else on this planet can you do that? Can you do that going to college? No. Can you do that buying a franchise? Well, maybe if you got $500,000, you can. Where else can you do it? You can only do it here. This is a treasure, ladies and gentlemen. This is a financial freedom treasure. And we're in such a hurry, and we're so afraid we're going to fail, that we just mess it up out there. And we don't have to do that. There's an easier way. Yay? I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. So I always take stock maybe every 15 years, so I've taken stock twice of my career. No, maybe every 6 months or a year, and try to keep dumbing it down and making it more simple and more simple and more simple, so that the gestation period, how long it takes for people to get it, is shortened. For me, it was 2.5 years. 2.5 years of, trying to manipulate people and trying to get people in a place where I could, tell them how much money they could make and tell them how great my product was, and, try to manipulate them somehow to come to the meeting. And, I tried the same things Randy did. Arguing with people and begging people, and then, I tried winning through intimidation. Robert Ringer, probably never heard of him, but, back in the 70s and 80s, we've studied people like Robert Ringer, who wrote the book, Winning Through Intimidation. And, drive up in the big Cadillac and, try to do all that stuff. None of that really worked long term. Sometimes you can influence followers like the sheep to come into your organization, but that doesn't resonate with people's heart. That doesn't resonate with people's spirit, and they end up leaving, and they can't duplicate it. So I was thinking, in the last few months about what is it that I have learned after 37 years that actually gives me some mastery and some comfort and some peace about this profession. And I boil it down to one thing, and that's curiosity. See, I've always been I have always been curious about other people. And so you just imagine when you're in a conversation with somebody else, whether it's somebody you know or somebody that you just met, just pay attention to that subtle, innate urge that you have in every cell of your body for them to know who you are, for them to know your stories, for them to know your opinions. You get a sense of that subtle, like that feeling that kind of influences what we do. And that's why, you know, when they're telling us their story, we just can't hardly wait for them to shut up so we can tell them our story. And, you know, we can hear them talking about their story, but we're actually rehearsing our story while they're telling their story. So as soon as they take a breath, we can tell ours really good. And of course, ours has got to be just a little bit better than theirs. That's who we are as people. And you know, that's what it is to be human. For 99% of us, when we're engaged with other people, we want them to hear us. Do you want to attract people to what we do? Just be curious about them. Just curious. Just curious. So if you're curious and you're in a conversation, what does your conversation sound like if you're curious? Questions. Now, of course, you can ask, contrive, manipulated, scripted out, set them up, knock them over questions. Or you can just ask questions that come to you in the moment. So what if you just were with people and who you were was curious? So you ask them a question, right? I don't know what that question is. I'm not even going to train you what the question is. Just try it. Just stand there in a moment and stand in the possibility of who I am is curious. Who I am for this person is curious. You can't help but ask a question. And when you ask a question, what are they going to do? Yeah, they're going to talk. And when they get done talking, if you're curious about what they said, what are you going to say next? You're going to ask another question, right? And then they're going to answer the question, and if you're still curious, what are you going to say next? You're going to ask another question. What questions are you going to ask? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Make it up in the moment. If you're curious and you want to feed somebody else's soul, be curious about them. Ask them questions that come to you in the moment, just spontaneous, authentic questions, and listen. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'll make you an ironclad guarantee. If that's the only way you converse with people, what they're going to do sooner or later, and in most cases sooner, is they're going to hand you on a giant silver platter. They're going to put it right on the platter in front of you for you to feast on if you want. Why they would want to join you in your business. They're going to tell you why before you ask them. Because if you're curious enough about people and you keep asking them questions and listening to them, they're going to be honored. They're going to be honored like they haven't been honored in a long time. Because in almost every conversation they have, they come together with somebody and they want to be heard. That's all people want to be, they just want to be heard. You know, this country's in gridlock because these people aren't smart enough in Washington, D.C. to understand that, yeah, we get it, you want to be heard, but the problem is, I want to be heard. And when two people come together and all they want is to both be heard, you just have a train wreck. And in our profession, most of us have been creating train wrecks with our prospects. Instead of getting prospects to walk away from our conversations going, that guy's kind of interesting. That gal's kind of interesting. I wonder what they do. And you know, those of you that practice this know what people do eventually when you honor them powerfully enough. What do they do as a human being? They honor you. They can't help it. What do? I'm an emergency retirement specialist. You want to have some fun with people? Tell them you're in one of those pyramid schemes like Amway and then shut up. Just shut up. Just create all kinds of safety in the space of silence. Because when you tell them when you're in a pyramid scheme like Amway, what they expect you to do is go after their throat. This is especially fun if you're sitting next to somebody for 2 or 3 hours on the plane. What do? Well, I'm not in Amway, but I'm in one of those pyramid schemes like Amway. You know what Amway is? Oh, yeah. And then just shut up and go back to reading your magazine. I swear to God, mark my words, within 15 minutes, within 5 minutes, you're going to see them fidget. They're going to start fidgeting. And then they're going to start looking over at whatever you're reading. Then they're going to move their magazines around a little bit. And then they're going to say something about, long flight, huh? Oh, they can't stand it. They want to know so desperately. Tell me about Amway. Tell me about that pyramid scheme. I mean, for God's sakes, Beth wanted to be in a pyramid scheme. She's 3 years old. It's a naughty word for us. It's like the name Redskins for us. We're like, oh no, don't call us a pyramid scheme. We're not the Washington Redskins. We're the Washington Native Americans or something. I don't know. It might just help if we owned it. Because guess what? That's what most people think we are. So the only way we're going to shift them is to own it. Just own it. Yeah, one of the pyramid schemes. It's like Amway. I'm at the top. Go back to reading your magazine. I'm telling you, they're going to come out of the woodwork after you. They're going to go, so I'm going to leave you with a story. This magazine is back in circulation. It's kind of esoteric, but it's a great magazine to subscribe to and read. Not too many of them that I recommend that you're going to get good meat from, but this is one, Psychology Today. This magazine was out of print for about 10 years, and this was a story in Psychology Today about 25 years ago. And it was like a 2-page story, and I just happened on it by accident, but wow, reshaped everything I've done since in network marketing. This article and a little audio tape by a guy named Larry Wilson called A New Way of Selling. A New Way of Selling. So here's the way this Psychology Today article went. This was a project that the magazine put together with the editor. And the project was about listening and curiosity and honoring people. So they put the editor of Psychology Today on a nonstop flight from New York to Los Angeles. And the agenda was whoever it was a he, is sitting next to. The agenda for that 5-hour flight is to ask your seatmate curiosity questions, listen, and then ask more questions. And do not volunteer any information about yourself. Not what your name is, not what you do for a living, not why you're going to LA, not anything about your family, nothing. Now, I don't know if they sensationalized this or not, but this is the way the article read. And I believe at least the essence of it, because I've seen it play out hundreds and thousands of times in the last 25 years. For 5 hours, the editor of Psychology Today asked his seatmate curiosity questions. And when they got off the airplane in LAX, the Psychology Today crew was standing in the airport, and they went to interview his seatmate. And they asked him, hey, what did you think about the guy that you flew out here with? Anybody know what he said?
One of the most interesting people I've ever met.
Thank you, Jordan. The most interesting person I've ever met. That's what he said. So then they said, really? What does he do for a living? Well, and so what was his name? So did he have an interesting family? So out here on LA on vacation, or was he coming out on business? Clueless. So imagine how it would be with you and the people that you encounter for the next 25 years if who you became was the most interesting person the people that you encountered had ever met. And imagine what we could do to restore and polish and beautify the reputation and the interpretation and the image of the network marketing profession, so that when we hit the streets 5 years from now, or 6 years from now, or 7 years from now, and we say, have you ever heard of network marketing? Instead of people going, no, or it's like Facebook. Maybe we got to say network marketing, multi-level marketing. Maybe even we got to say, like Amway. And instead of them going, they go, yeah, I have. In fact, I know a lot of people involved in it. In fact, I know a lot of people that are doing really well in it. In fact, a lot of my friends are involved in it. In fact, I've been involved in it for the last 5 years. Wouldn't that be a beautiful place to work? That's in our hands. Be the most interesting people have ever met. Thanks.
It is probably no surprise to you the responses even Super MLM Man gets to asking people about what we do. They do not understand the term network marketing, MLM, or direct sales. They do think they understand what a pyramid scheme is. Unfortunately, they are so misinformed. Added to how people perceive what we do is the challenge of how we have done it for almost 70 years. Hype, mystery, avoidance, fear of loss, ridiculous claims, and downright lying to people has added to people's perception that they do not want to do what we do. But still, millions of people join the ranks of network marketing every year. There must be something about what we do that they love. There is. Lots of things. The same things that attracted you. So how do we educate people? Show them what is possible. Show them how we can do it in a way that's fun, honorable, authentic, and trustworthy. At Bliss Business, we call it the authentic networker. We teach and model states of being and philosophies that are highly attractive. States of being like being curious about other people, whether they are a candidate for our business or not. Being present for people when they are talking, no matter how many thoughts are running through our mind. Honoring people's opinions and decisions instead of arguing with them. Trusting trust as our primary strategy versus manipulation and typical sales stuff. And most importantly, just keeping it real. Keeping us real. Authenticity is our secret sauce. And it is so simple and easy to be authentic. All you have to do is trust it. I've dedicated my life to educating the public on the epic and potent possibilities of building an asset income in network marketing. And most importantly, to teach network marketers how to do it in a way that leaves a positive impression in the minds of our market. Join me in this crusade to change the way network marketers network and market. Read the 4-year career, share it, and go to school on the Authentic Network Marketer.